Earworm. 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 Earworms. Oh, that's great. Hey guys, what's up? This is episode 7. This is your boy Go Dodo, and we are back with Earworms, a podcast that basically talks about music, and music I think it's cool. This is a very special episode because it's actually an interview with one of my good friends, Marco Benevento. So without further ado, here we go. Also know that I never do this, so.
Perfect. I do this all the time, and I still don't even know how to do it. So I have no idea.
No. Well, everybody, we got a guest today on Earworms. So this is my buddy Marco Benevento, and he's at his home studio. Marco, what's up, man?
What's happening, Diego? Go, 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 go.
Marco! Do you get that from your family, that Marco?
Polo.
Marco.
Fish out of water. I mean, yeah, that's a constant thing. It's funny, truth be told, I was just gonna say that my name is my birth name is Mark, M-A-R-C.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved watching Italian soccer because my dad's Italy, and of course we had like RAI, the Italian channel, growing up, and we would watch all these soccer games, and my favorite soccer player was Italy. And I was like, no, I'm Marco, I'm not Mark. So I've been called Marco my whole life. But when but anyway, yeah, legally just Mark,
Yeah,
so disappointing for so many people. They're like, you should not open up your podcast with you telling them that you're Mark. It's anyway.
Well, like also I was named after Diego Maradona.
There you go. So you and I both, right?
Yeah.
Soccer.
That's right, man. Football.
I was so into soccer growing up, traveling soccer in New Jersey. I did that all the time.
Really?
Oh yeah, and my dad actually worked for the Cosmos, that soccer team from New Jersey.
Oh, that's rad.
Pele played for them for a minute, actually.
That's insane, man.
And so every Sunday, today is a Sunday, every Sunday we would go see the Cosmos play soccer. So my dad had this whole soccer connection, being from Italy.
That's cool, man.
Anyway, yeah, I know. Yeah, still to this day, I go to my parents' house, and yeah.
So you're in Woodstock right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool, but you're originally from Jersey.
Originally from Jersey. I'm originally from 2 hours south of here.
Yeah.
Jersey, in the suburbs, about 20 minutes from New York City. We moved around a bit. We lived in Little Falls, which is in Passaic County, and then Wyckoff and Franklin Lakes, which is Bergen County. And it's all close to the, George Washington Bridge. So,
okay, cool.
Close to the city. Yeah. Growing up, I would, sneak into the city to see shows and get beer and all sorts of other things. And it was 20 minutes to the city and back, or one way,
Right.
But yeah, close to the city. So I would go to New York a lot, and I couldn't believe that. I remember just going to New York as a kid, and then learning about how there's cities in every state. And I was like, wow, so every state has a New York City.
Right.
My parents were like, kind of, so, growing up in that major city was, near that major city was amazing. And I thought every city was going to be like that, but turns out.
Yeah. I had an ex-girlfriend who was from Jersey, and she said she spent all of her time in the beach.
Yeah.
And I was like, the beach? I guess.
Yeah.
Geographically understand New Jersey.
Exactly. I know people are like, why would you go to the beach in New Jersey? That sounds like there's just needles everywhere, and it's probably gross, it's probably crowded, and what are you talking about? But there's amazing beaches. Going down the shore is a family tradition, and we still do it. And we go for a week, and you can go to these beaches that there's nobody on the beach. And it's cool. Beautiful water and huge beach, and it's just nice. And and it's also conveniently, it's 2 hours or 3 hours from here, so you don't have to go anywhere, but all of a sudden you're at the beach and you feel like you're, somewhere else
Yeah.
than somewhere other than New Jersey.
And this Woodstock, this is the real Woodstock?
So this is the real Woodstock. Yeah, like Woodstock, the festival was conceived here.
Yeah.
But it was supposed to happen here, but it didn't. It was hosted like about 90 or 100 miles from here in Bethel, New York, which is kind of funny because people come to Woodstock and they're like, "So where's the field?" And we're like, "Well, no, it was." They like figured it all out here, tried to do it here, but then they had to do it at Bethel, which is like south 100 miles,
Yeah.
kind of far. But yeah, this is like this is the place. There's a lot of history here.
That's cool, man. That's
Yeah,
cool. Every city we go into and we see the sign, it's like, we're in Woodstock. There's like multiple Woodstocks. That was what we found.
that's true. There's
All through
Woodstock
America.
everywhere. It's like Springfield,
Yeah.
That's
Well,
so
yeah, man. So I guess the first thing I want to ask you about is the royal potato family.
yeah, man.
Okay,
Okay.
so now I've seen that name before, but I didn't know this was you, man. But I
Oh,
I
cool.
found out about it through Lucas Nelson, William's
Yeah,
son. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, we put out his record. My manager Kevin Calabro, we both started the label together.
yeah.
Probably 17 years ago or something, maybe
That's
more.
so
And
cool, man.
yeah, and the joke, the name comes from a joke that Bob Dylan told our drummer at the time, and our drummer at the time was Matt Chamberlain, who is an incredible drummer.
Wow.
And if you haven't heard him or know him, check him out. He's on a gazillion records and an incredible drummer.
Yeah,
But he was touring with Edie Brickell, and they were opening up for Bob Dylan. And the whole time, like Bob would always, the whole tour, he would always have his like hood on. He was very antisocial and didn't want to talk to anybody. And like one night they were eating dinner and like Bob had his hood on and like Matt sat down and Bob sat down right next to him, like, in catering at whatever Normo Dome,
yeah,
outside. And and the whole time they ate dinner and he didn't like turn his head or take his hood off or anything. And then like they're basically done, excuse me, with their meals. And
yeah.
Dylan like puts his hood back and turns to Matt and he's like, "You want to hear a joke?" And Matt's like, "Yeah, sure." He's like, "There's a royal potato family. There's a queen potato, there's king potato, and there's princess potato. And it's time for Princess Potato to go out and get married and find a man." And she goes on a date. She brings home her first date, and the king just instantly didn't like him. Goes on another date, second date, brings him home. Like, same thing. King is just like, "Get him out of here." And Princess Potato, third date, comes home with Dan Rather.
Yeah.
And the king says, "You can't marry him. He's a commentator." So that's where the royal potato family came. And I thought,
Great, great
so
work
it's
there,
a,
bro.
it's a terrible, terrible story. But like when you're
Yeah,
on the road, if you're in a small Volvo driving a Telluride to Jazz Fest and you're in the thing for 8 hours and then Matt tells you the story, you're like, "Oh my God, that is the most hilarious thing."
that's great.
Royal Potato Family. What a cool like umbrella name for maybe I should use that name for like my band or
Yeah,
or a record label. I just love the Royal Potato Family. And or just the sound of that is so funny. And
yeah, that's a great story,
so
man.
we decided to name our, and at that time I was just forming my band too with Matt and Reed and putting out like my first record, and like figuring out that sort of new band and this the new phase in my life that I was doing like the piano trio kind of thing.
Yeah,
So I was trying to figure out what I could do, and that name again almost was like a cool band name. I was like, "Oh yeah." But
yeah.
we called it the record label. So, and we have all our friends like on that label basically at this point.
Is this also like what you do with Joe Russo?
Joe and I were before all this. Joe and
Oh,
I
okay.
We
Well,
had like a organ and drum duo called the Benevento Russo duo.
yes, yes.
Very,
Okay.
very
Wait,
catchy.
let me stop and tell everybody to go YouTube right now. I'll try to link it somehow, but like those are really cool videos to watch of you guys playing together.
Yeah, yeah. That was like 2003 to 2008 ish, maybe longer. I don't know, somewhere around there. It was the two of us literally in a Subaru Outback, like an organ and a Hammond organ and a Leslie. And then Joe had like this sort of Russian doll drum set that all fit into the bass drum. Like everything became unhinged and you could scale it all down and put it all in the bass drum. And we got in the Subaru and drove across the country many times and toured around as the duo, the Benevento Russo duo, playing organ and drums, and we were facing each other on stage, and we were like the perfect opener. Like they're like, there's any band was like, there's no room on stage, and we're like, cool, we'll just play on the floor, and they're like, awesome.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
we we would sometimes like totally punk rock it and just like play on the floor with like minimal amplification and microphones and things like that. And it was just fun. Like we were young and
Yeah.
we loved playing with each other and experimenting. And then we grew into writing songs and making albums with songs on them versus how we started, which was very much improvisational and just
Mhm.
like, you know, figuring it out. But
Yeah.
we basically wrote like instrumental like pop songs towards the end of our life, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and I was doing like foot bass lines on the organ and like Wurlitzer, distorted Wurlitzer, and organ with the left hand. And Joe was like playing a huge drum kit, like triggering all these samples. And we were basically like two people, but sounded like six people.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
And we were on Rope a Dope, that record label back in the early 2000s.
Mhm.
We put out two records with them. And then, yeah, I don't know. Then we hooked up with the guys from Fish and
Oh,
toured. We toured with Trey and Mike, the
oh,
guitar
that's
player, the
right.
bass player from Fish, one summer, and we were like, "We're gonna be huge. This is amazing." We're playing like, uh, those big outside summer festivals on the East Coast, playing for tens of thousands of people,
Yeah.
and that was really fun. And that was like right around the sort of time of our peak as a duo, and that was just like one of those amazing years or a couple of years of just doing
Yeah.
all stuff with those guys. That was fun.
Hey man, I wanted to just kind of touch on maybe one song that I can kind of feature
Oh,
to show people.
like the duo or the
No,
Joe and
no,
I.
no. Like one of your current songs. Actually
Oh,
made
oh, sure, sure.
I made myself like a little playlist of like my favorite cuts from each one of your albums, right?
Okay, yeah. What do you got?
The one that I really liked the most was the song called Golden,
Oh, cool.
and it was from the album Me Not Me.
hmm That's actually, I don't know if you
Yeah.
know, that's a My Morning Jacket song.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And
Okay.
then the way you did it, it's so cool, man. Going through a lot. I mean, I'm hearing a lot of your influences, and do you listen to John Bryan?
Oh, absolutely. I actually played with him at Largo one night
Wow.
when we
Wow.
were we were making that record, our second duo record. Um, and Joe, we had a whole day in the studio. Everybody was like basically tired, and Matt was like, "I'm going to Largo. John's playing. You want to come?" And I was like, "Heck, fucking yeah, I want to
Yeah.
come." And I went, and like John Bryan's whole scene at Largo, but the Largo before this Largo that exists right now. So it was a
Yeah.
small, anyway, and he had everything all set up and like looped everything and Jan moved around and like all of a sudden he was like playing the songs. I couldn't believe what was happening in front of my eyes. Also, he opened with like a Thelonious Monk song to start. Like he
Right
was,
on.
I was like, oh wow, he could play, like really
Yeah.
play. Oh, cool. And I mean, I knew we could really play, but it was really impressive to hear him play Thelonious Monk. And then he, sang and played drums and guitar, moved around, had a celeste, and then it was so cool. And then he was like, "I'd like to invite up Matt Chamberlain to come up play with me," and I
Yeah.
was like, oh, this is so cool. And Matt went up and played with him because Matt and John have played a bunch
Yeah.
together. Again, Matt Chamberlain, check him out. And so they were jamming, and then he was done. And then Matt like waved me over for the next. He's like, "Come on, play this last song." And I was like, "Oh my god!" And I came up on stage with John and Matt and played. I don't even remember because I was so like nervous and just like thinking how cool this was at the time. So I don't remember what song it was, but we jammed a song and it was great. But yeah, John Bryan is yeah. I definitely Brad Meldhau is an incredible piano player
Yeah, I
who
was gonna ask you about him. Yeah.
I really have got to know able to know him over the last like 20 years. I've been to his shows at the Vanguard, and we definitely would, we know each other just from shows, and he actually gave me a lesson in like 2002. It was
Yeah.
so incredible. But that record that he made with John Bryan, Largo, really
Yes.
was like a turning point for me. I really was like, that's it. That's exactly what I love. It like sort of like rock, jazz. It's not fusion. It's not like fusion, which is a different thing. It's like literally rock, but with like some jazz in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I really liked that sort of organic, especially with the piano and the bass and the experimental sounding piano, the muted piano or the celeste or other sort of keyboard sounds. That really was a big thing for me, and that's kind of why I started my own band and made those early records, Me Not Me and
Yeah.
Invisible TV.
Yeah.
And
There's a song that you have that to my ear sounds the one called Dropkick. Dropkick.
yeah,
To my ears, it reminds me a lot of like almost like a Blur Gorillas influence, you know?
yeah, that's really cool that you say that because that's exactly. I mean, Gorillaz nailed it on the head. Like it was when that record came out. When did that record come out? Like 2005 or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
It came out, and I I was playing all sorts of kinds of music around that time and listening to all sorts of stuff. And there was something about that record that I absolutely loved, And I think it was like our sound guy or tour manager like loved it and would always play it in the car, and I like was always like, yeah, so cool. Like but I didn't understand. I didn't know if everybody else thought it was cool, but I like really liked it. I
Yeah.
I, I didn't like. It's kind of like this stuff is really awesome, right? And I know they got huge and they're very popular, but I always thought like they should be so much more popular or something,
Right.
like
Right.
it's so good,
Yeah.
and the songs are so catchy, and it's like right around that time where all those sounds, it was all the right sounds. Oh, it was so
Yeah.
yeah, it was jazz and like drum machiney, but like really good musicianship, good players, good grooves, and yeah, and Dropkick has a bit of that,
Right on.
element in there, the gorillas thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
which that's so cool, Diego. I love that you thought that because
You know what? I would say when you earlier were saying like the perfect opener, man, you were like definitely the perfect opener for us in San Diego. That was
oh
really
cool.
a great show, man. And I remember Enrique was watching you from the balcony, just like, can you believe this guy? He loves it, dude. But of
Oh
course, he was
man, that's great.
he was losing his mind. It was great.
Man, I love Enrique, and that's so good to hear because I almost was like, oh man, like because Seth and his band opened
Yeah,
go
that's right. When I
hey,
first saw you, I thought you were Seth.
I know, I know, I know. I was like, oh yeah, we're cousins, and I told Seth, I'm like, I told everybody we were cousins, so just go with it next time you see them or something like that.
Yeah,
But I was like, oh man, I hope they liked the solo thing because they have like Ghost Funk Orchestra opening up, which is like
yeah.
hard brass funk, awesome big band. And I'm like, oh man, I hope I'm not too small for
No, dude, I think it's a big on. It's really cool when you can really make an audience like do crowd participation and
yeah.
like, really get into it when it's just you on stage, man. That's a real talent, dude.
Right
Super
on.
cool.
Awesome. That whole tour was super fun, Diego. I really like loved, and it was just me in a rental car for like a week with you
Yeah,
guys.
Yeah.
And like I would always pass you guys on the highway. I'm like, all right, well, I'll be there before them, so I got time. I'm gonna go get some dinner, and then I'll just go there, and everything will be great. And every
Yeah.
show was so fun, and it was great. But it was basically me and a rental car for a week,
Yeah.
and it was
You-
kind of
We,
like a
we, we
soul
also have
search.
an opener named Esme Patterson. I don't know if you got a chance. Oh, you met Esme, no?
Yeah,
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 she also was touring
yeah.
just by herself, just a guitar, a rented Tesla, and man, I can't believe it's like that's hard. That's hard to just tour by yourself like that, you know?
Yeah,
I gotta
yeah.
commend you on that, you know?
Oh man. Oh, the hardest thing about it was remember that hurricane, like that whole
Yeah,
hurricane,
yeah,
like everything should have been fine except for that. That was like the first day of that tour, and it was just a weird way to start that whole run.
yeah.
Earworm.
And we're back, folks. Man, it's like having your own TV show. This. So we're here again with Marco Benevento in his studio, and we're just kind of going over music that, and also just like the many different projects that you've been working on through the years. So we left off, we were kind of getting into this album that I'm crazy about, this Yeti season album.
Oh man, yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, Leon and I made a record in 20, I guess we recorded it in 2017. We met in 2016 because I subbed for him in the Arcs. That's how we met.
The
Uh,
Arcs, dude. Oh my God, I love that band too.
I know. What a great band.
Crazy.
I know.
Yeah.
Leon had to miss like the last three shows or something because he was having his third kid. And and I had just made a record with Swift, and Swift was one of the drummers in the band. So Swift was like, just have Marco play three shows. It was New Orleans, Austin, and Memphis.
Mm.
And so I met Leon there, played the shows with the Arcs. Anyway, always like got into Leon stuff and asked him to produce a record that I was working on in 2017. We recorded it. 2019 it came out called Let It Slide.
Yeah.
And then we remained friends, and Nick and Homer and Jens and the whole Diamond Mine crew. I
Yeah.
got to know everybody there and played a bunch, recorded over there with a handful of folks, played with Black Thought with Freddie Gibbs, like
Wait,
all the
let me slow it down for the people at home, right?
stuff.
Okay, so again, we're talking about Leon Michels of the L. Michels Affair. And thank you again for correcting me on how to say that, because for years I probably was saying it wrong, you know? And yeah, that's nuts, man. So okay, before dude, so many questions about all your work with these guys, you know? But like what for you, what is your favorite stuff that you've done?
With that crew,
Yeah,
or
personal. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, just like going back to Let It Slide, just like the beginning of it all,
Yes, yes.
hanging out with those guys, meeting them, almost being slightly like intimidated, or I don't think that's the right word, but or just like I really liked everything that they were doing, but we had so many mutual friends, so I wasn't. It was more just just to someone checking out someone else, just like, how do you work? Like, how do you do all that?
Yeah.
Like, I know you're good, and I know we're getting along, but also like how, but without being so obviously sort of curious about it, just trying to like also just be like, you're home, you're a bro in the studio recording and hanging out. But meanwhile, I'm like taking mental notes, just
Yeah.
like maybe taking some pictures of some stuff and seeing how they're doing
Wow.
all that stuff. I'm like, okay. But anyway, total, dorking out on it for sure. But just, I guess, making Let It Slide with Leon and Nick and Jens over at Diamond, I would say, then fast forward to like the Freddie Gibbs Tiny Desk thing. Like,
Wow, yeah, that's crazy.
maybe that also was a pretty cool, and then,
Yeah.
oh, well, playing Fallon with Black Thought, that was cool. That was very cool.
Wow.
All the stuff that's come after it is really cool. There's a bunch of stuff that we're doing in May actually
That's
with
cool.
Leon, and stuff that has yet to be announced, and like I'm really excited about all that stuff too.
Right on, man. Black Thought, dude, maybe one of the dopest rappers ever. Like, and I
Yeah.
mean, the fact that they're still doing that show with the Tonight Show, it's what a crazy gig that is.
What a crazy gig. Absolutely. And through all those guys, I met Mark Ronson and have been recording with him and playing with him. I
That's
played
cool.
with him at the Carlisle Hotel a month ago with Cat Power and like Lakey Lee and, all sorts of other folks.
That's cool.
And
I've seen him DJ here in Vegas.
oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We did the Montreux Jazz Fest this summer with all those guys.
Oh, dude,
And
that's a historic jazz fest, dude. Wow.
exactly. No, it was insane. Like that's a new connection that's happened over the last year, basically through Leon and meeting him through the arcs,
Yeah.
basically through Richard Swift, who I had met years prior to all that. So it all filters back through Swift, I guess,
Yeah.
because we made a record with him many years before that. But yeah, such a cool scene, such a cool I don't know, so much fun to record and compose music with all those guys. And yeah, it's just endless. There's like these, and Leon's been coming here and
Yeah.
recording here, and we've been just messing around with stuff. And
What's the name of your studio?
Fred Short,
I definitely am gonna come visit, man.
yeah, man, yeah. Oh, you got it. You love it here.
Right on. Right
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
Also, I was just listening to the Say Shishi album. That was the last one I did. And I saw that Sergio has a studio called Killian Sound in LA. Have you been there?
No,
Cool, man. Maybe that's a friend we should go visit too, huh?
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Where in LA is it?
I'm not sure. I think it's in Hollywood somewhere, but
Okay.
like he's been recording. I mean, besides his own band, Orgon, which has just been the sound is crazy.
Yeah.
He also did that Neil Francis album too.
Oh, he did?
Yeah,
Wow. Oh, cool.
yeah.
I met Neil and I know Neil. We know each other just from like festivals and playing, seeing each other and possibly just because we're both piano players, like arch enemies, but whatever. It's
That's
funny.
cool, man.
Our arch nemesis is playing tonight. I'm like, who? They're like Neil Francis. I'm like, oh, what? Just because
No,
he sings? No, no, I'm kidding.
yeah.
But no, he's great. So Sergio did his record.
Sergio Rios.
Oh,
Sergio
gotcha.
Rios. Yeah, I know their names are so similar, but
I
yeah,
know, I know.
they actually
Okay,
haven't met
right.
yet.
Sergio, right. Gotcha,
Mhm.
gotcha.
Yeah, he's another guitar player friend of mine who's just a badass.
Okay, cool.
Mhm.
Cool.
Yeah, man. Pia Malik. Am I saying her
Yeah,
name right?
yeah, yeah.
Cool, man.
Pia Malik. Yep.
Right on. You're the one who turned me on to her.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I didn't never
Just
heard before.
through what did we talk about her or I forget?
Actually,
Or
yeah, we were. I was telling you how much I love that the album from
yeah,
Michael's Fair, the Yeti season. You know,
yeah, yeah.
and then you were like, you should check out Say Sushi.
Oh, cool. Right on. I'm glad I said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pia is awesome. And like when we did Coachella, back in April, we brought the kids and my wife and everybody, and Pia was just so nice to Ruby and Isla, our kids, and
Oh, that's
just,
cool.
like talking, hanging out with like the kids. I was like, oh, I love it. And our kids are like, oh, we should hang out with Pia again. She's cool. I'm like, yeah, she is cool. And I forget. We like hung out a bunch in between weekends in LA.
Mm,
And yeah, she's a great person, an incredible singer, and like, the very distinct sound on that record for sure.
absolutely. And yeah,
And,
I would say even out of their discography, they've got so many great songs, but that album is just wow.
yeah. Yeah, that album is incredible.
Did you guys
Yeah, like
record the tape on that one too?
That's like Leon's record.
Yeah,
So I don't know the details on all the tracks. I forget which ones I'm on. I feel like I'm only on two of those tracks on that record.
right,
But yeah, he's always they're definitely recording the tape.
right on.
Yeah,
Yeah, that the stuff that we play mostly from his band out here is like a lot of the Wu-Tang covers they did. You'll hear
yeah.
that a lot. Most of the DJs will play that.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Right. That record that he made. I don't remember what year that was, but yeah, that record. I feel like. was the start of it all for sure, or the Menaheim Street Band probably.
Yeah. Hey, so tell me about new stuff. What should I know about now? Tell what they should know about now, and then also maybe something that you're working on that, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a new record, a live record coming out. It's called Barn Burner, live at Levon's, live at Levon Helm Studios here in Woodstock.
Oh, that's cool,
Uh,
man.
we recorded it basically a year ago, January, a year ago. We had 2 nights, and everybody was around. We had like video, we had audio, and it was just like one of these weekends where we're like, we should just record the whole thing. And if we want to
Nice.
make a record out of it, cool. If not, whatever. And we had like a magical weekend. One of those weekends where you're like, I hope we recorded that. And that never happens. It's
Yeah.
always, and we didn't record that one. And it was just an exploratory madness of like we're in our comfort zone here upstate in the woods,
Hmm.
and Yvonne's is just like a magical place to see a show. And yeah, so it was a great couple of nights, and so we're putting out a record that's from that show about a year ago.
Yeah.
The record's called Barn Burner, and we also have a show coming up in March at Levon's to celebrate the release of that record.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, it's a double record, and we're doing some other shows around the East Coast just to
Yeah.
promote the live record. So we have the live record, so that's a big thing right now.
Yeah, on your Spotify, there's like a DJ set too, right?
All right, yeah, I've been trying to make mixes every month.
Dude.
It was like it's definitely inspired by Big Crown and Leon and all those guys because they kind of all do it every month, and then
Yeah.
my manager was like, "Oh yeah, why don't you do that? You should do something like that too." And then but I'll like miss a bunch of months because I'm on tour, and it'll be like Marco's playlist for January, and it's like, dude, it's April. You need to update that. But yeah, I try to do it every month. It's just like songs I listen to that.
There's an artist that I wanted to ask you about on here. This
Uh,
Robert Lesser Folsom.
oh, dude, please. Actually,
Whoa.
when we were on tour this summer, touring from San Diego to Seattle, we did it, my brother. Again, it was just me in a rental car. So I would just let the podcast go or let Spotify go. And every time Lester Folsom came on,
Yeah.
Robert Lester Folsom, I was like, who is this guy? It sounds like a wasty, like Bobby Charles or a psychedelic Bobby Charles, like country funk. It's kind of funny, but it's like kind of just folky and acousticy
Right.
and like dirty. Like, what is this? And I don't know much about him, but when I was on that tour, I listened to so much of him and
Mm.
liked so much of him that I was like, okay, this is like maybe my new favorite guy. I want to know more about him. And I just kind of read up on him about him like last night, actually.
Really?
And it turns out he only made one record. And
Mm.
then like nothing went right for a while, and he just became like a house painter or like a painter and
Oh
like did
yeah.
that for a
Yeah.
while. But then like I think like Mexican Summer, like that record label
Oh,
just
I
like
love that record label. Yeah.
yeah, same here. They I think they got like his stuff and they're like re-releasing it.
Mm.
Maybe that's why he's like popping up more on Spotify. I can't figure it out, but I really love it. So the more you find out about him, let me know because
I
I do
will.
I
Yeah.
do like his stuff a lot.
That's cool, man. I mean, I'm always like researching older music, like
It
constantly.
is, yeah, it is. It's older. Yeah, I think he made it in the early '70s. That like a couple records, and then like the record label, nothing really kind of went as planned, and he's like, I don't know, I'll just paint houses. like, dude, that happens, man.
Did you
Musicians,
did you did you hear the story of Linda Perhacs?
no, what's
Man,
that?
she dropped a brilliant folk album, and then at the time she just was not really feeling of promoting it, whatever. Just kind of went into obscurity. Then 2020, 2000, the 2000s, DJs picked up on it and were like, "Yo, this album is one of the greatest folk albums of all time."
Yeah, right,
Yeah, I mean, I
exactly,
listened to that album all the time, and
yeah,
then she like had quit music. She became a dental hygienist.
right.
So, but then now recently she's been touring again.
Oh
They
wow, crazy,
got it
yeah.
back. Same thing happened to Sergio too, man. Sergio
Right.
Diaz.
Yeah. I was just thinking
Like
about those Mutantes. I was like, wait, they're touring. Like I what? Like I love
Yeah.
those Montes. What? And like what happened between, the I guess the mid 70s and like now? I really don't know like
Yeah.
what.
Well, like they
Anyway.
were like kind of started off as a kid band, and
Yeah.
then they kind of ended around 1973.
Oh wow, interesting.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
then I want to say maybe like around 2006, David Byrne was wanted to do that compilation about Os Mutantes on his label Luwaka. So
Yeah.
basically, they reissued that music, and it was at just a perfect time with the internet where everybody was talking about them. And
Yeah.
it kind of got them excited to bring the band back. And at that time it was like Arnaldo and Sergio. They all got together and they did a big performance in Europe.
Uh-huh.
That's like their reunion show. So
Wow.
2006 is when they made a reunion, and then all the musicians that you met have been basically with him since that time period.
That's unbelievable. That's
Yeah.
so I love that band. I love all those dudes. Like they're like, yo, come on in the RV, man. Let's hang out. Let's smoke a joint. Like, yeah. And I was like, okay, right. These guys have been in this, for a long time. Like,
Right.
you know, uh, yeah. Anyway, we were like looking at pictures of Brazil on the map, and they're like, oh, this is where I live, and this is, man, I got to come visit you guys. I just want to rent a car and like
Yeah.
drive around to all these different cool parts of the country. And anyway,
No,
I don't
man,
know.
there's so much about that culture that's like people have no idea about, but it just doesn't
Yeah.
even reach the States.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I hear. Yeah, for sure. They're so cool. That was such a fun tour. So glad that I was able to do that. And I was, you guys let me do that.
Well, I'm sure we're gonna do more shows, man, this year.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're just mostly again being 73, we're always worried about Sergio's health.
Yeah. Absolutely. I was thinking you guys should come play my festival. I do a festival every year.
What's it called?
It's called Follow the Arrow.
Follow the
Follow
Arrow.
the Arrow, Diego.
Yeah, I love it.
And it's right up here. It's just south of Woodstock in a town called Accord,
Cool.
but people call it Accord.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
anyway, it's a small festival. Capacity's like 1,200 outside at a brewery. There's one stage. There's two drum sets. There's guitar amps. Everybody just uses the stuff that's on stage,
Hmm.
and you just come and you play. And it's like a 1 p.m. to 9:30, just a day festival. About 6 to 8 bands play. We had
Yeah.
Antipolis play one year. We had Rubble
Oh,
Bucket
cool.
play last year, and this is our third year doing it.
Right on.
We had like the Bar Brothers. That's who actually is here. They stopped by tonight. Brad Barr. I don't know if you checked the Bar Brothers out. They're so good.
Oh, please send me their music, man.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah, I'll definitely come play. I have a bunch of friends to come play with from Vegas. Would love to do that road trip with you.
dude, yeah, I'm trying to figure out the right date, but yeah, uh, but yeah, normally it's in the end of June.
Right on.
Um,
Right
so
on.
we'll.
I just went to see the last of the Dead and Co shows.
Oh, cool.
So, man, that was real hippies, dude. San
Yeah. Oh,
Francisco.
totally. Yeah. Actually, I saw the pictures on social media. I was like, oh, Diego, he's in it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we talked about the Joe Russo, the Dead cover band that you were in.
Right. Yeah.
Almost Dead.
It's called Joe Russo's Almost Dead.
Yeah.
Joe. Yeah. We just basically call it Almost Dead at this point. Um, yeah, Joe and Dave Drywitz, an incredible bass player that plays with Ween,
Yeah.
and tons of other stuff. And Scott Metzger plays guitar, incredible. He has a band called Lamp.
Mm.
That's a cool trio, guitar, organ, and drum trio. Um, and Tom Hamilton plays guitar. He has a band called Ghostlight, and
Yeah.
we've known each other for too long. Like, you know what I mean? Like hanging out with those dudes is like, right, what's up? Yeah, I love you. And it's also the best. Like we have the best time, but like you don't even have to say much because you're just like you guys are bros. We get it, like,
Yeah.
but we also we have a fun time playing. We do like 40 shows a year roughly. And
Wow.
we play some, bigger venues like Red Rocks and like, like big
Wow.
festival Bonnaroo. We're doing Bonnaroo this
That's
year.
cool, man.
And it's like a Grateful Dead thing, but we're all from New Jersey, so there's a bit of a edge to it. It's and like lots of energy. I don't know, like I like to think that we're bringing in some other elements into the world of the Dead improvisation.
That's cool.
We're doing like Miles-esque weird sounding things for a long
Oh,
time.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe coming up with our own part in between songs,
Mhm.
and then going into like Uncle John's band or like or whatever Shakedown
Yeah.
Street. But we're in between. We're really, I feel like we've been playing with each other for so long and have so many different influences from like Mark Rebo to
Mhm.
Thelonious Monk to Butthole Surfers to
Right.
Zeppelin. Like it's just like it's just so fun, and we've known each other for so long. It's so weird, and our shows are 3.5 to 4 hours long, and we really get into all sorts of stuff, and it's fun. It's
Right on.
I can't believe that like we've made like our version of it that so many people really like.
I was thinking the same thing, man, because a lot of the bands, these big legendary bands, they actually can't continue by just allowing other people to just continue the music. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh
So like
yeah.
for example, like Led Zeppelin ended, hard end, right? And
Yeah.
then you've got a band like Greta Van Fleet that sounds so much like Led Zeppelin, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's like just keep playing Zeppelin style music, you know what I mean? Like keep it alive, for the next generations,
Absolutely.
you know?
Yeah. And at least just for us too, like we go so far back that when we get into some improvisation, like it's very we're like really heady on it, and we really connect on a lot of things.
Mm.
And I feel like when you're like out in the audience and you're seeing a show and you're watching the band play and you're like, they have so many years, like there's so much stuff happening there, and like they
Yeah.
sound so good together because all right, those guys are brothers, and those guys are married, or like when you think about that stuff, like it's like with us, we're like, well, they met when they were. I met Joe when I was like 12 or something like that, and then
Wow.
we the band forever. And then I met Dave, and then I toured with Dave for a while, and then Scott and Joe toured for a while, and then Scott, and then Tommy and Joe. Like there's just like we go so far back that when we get into some heady improvisation for tens of thousands of people, like it's actually, I don't know, I feel like it's really meaningful, and like there's a lot of depth to it, and we're like really looking at each other like, what are we gonna do,
Yeah.
or sometimes we're not even looking at each other at all, and you could just tell like it's gonna happen at some point, we're gonna get there.
That's cool, man.
Just that improvisation and then feeling the crowd go with you on all that. Like, as you've seen so many shows, like when you see a band successfully sort of pull that off,
Hmm.
like, oh my God, that's
Yeah.
so cool. What was that? And like, anyway, I feel like J-Rad is like Joe specifically is real good at sort of figuring out how we can all do that together. And it's cool because he's the drummer. So
Right.
he's right in the middle. He's listening to everybody. He's kind of like giving his input, maybe looking at you like, well, that's good. Stay there. Or looking at the other guy like, no, 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 change, he kind of directs it and like lets you know what's going on. And then before you know it, there's like you could feel the roar of, like the Greek theater, or like, like just like big places across the country and Red Rocks. You could just feel the roar of like
Yeah.
10,000
I saw
people.
Andrew
You're like,
Bird there, dude.
whoa!
Bro,
Like,
I saw Andrew Bird at Red Rocks. And
nice.
he whistles like he's got the most incredible whistle, right?
Yeah.
And imagine just a whole stadium full of people just listening to one dude whistle. It was insane.
Yeah. Right, like especially those venue like a venue like Red Rocks where it's like built it's a purposely made to like concert venue for everyone to have a crazy awesome experience, like
Yeah.
musician included, like because as a musician you're like, oh, there's like the sound, there's the weird frequencies, there's the set list, you're nervous, maybe you ate something weird and you're like, oh my god, I got to go to the bathroom, and you're like playing, but like ideally it's like the perfect sort of mix for the audience and the musician. Just like it's like a great place to connect. I don't know.
Right
Yeah.
on, man. Hey, so I'm gonna go ahead and end this podcast thing now, and then we can continue for a little bit, But
All
yeah,
right.
dude, thank you so much for again being. This is my first guest for Earworms.
All right. Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
You know what I'll probably do is I'll make like a short version, and then I'll make a long version. Then they'll be on YouTube later.
Yeah. Cool.
Right on.
Great to see you, Diego.
Thanks,
Yeah,
brother. Stay,
man.
stay here, and then we'll keep it on. All right.
All right.
Earworm. 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 Earworm.